All right, yeah, this is Coach Alex Rouggly from Jefferson R-7 School District here in Festus, Missouri. We're located about 30 minutes south of St. Louis on I-55. We're a Class 2 school, which we run the Flexbone triple option offense, a little bit of power counter, a little bit of trap, and jet sweep added in that. But Coach Bandstra, I greatly appreciate him allowing me to come on and talk a little football during these times where, a lot of us still aren't around our kids. So this is awesome that he's putting this on, and I look forward to it. So a little bit about our program. We are a new program. Our first year for high school was 2009. So in 2010, they played a little bit of a half varsity, half JV schedule, and then through 14. The wins were 34 and 57. So it was, the telltale signs of a new program. And again, we're talking junior high through varsity. That's what I consider our 7 through 12 football program. But I was able to take over as the head coach in 2015 and has been the head coach since. Our 2015-2019 record, junior high through varsity 7 through 12, has been 85 wins and 37 losses. So we kind of flipped that around a little bit. And that's just goes to the dedication that our administration has taken upon themselves to help us better, not just the football program, but also all of our athletics, and making that time and pushing them to and ourselves to be the best that we can be for our student athletes. And then also having great coaches and most importantly, having great kids. So been very fortunate to be a part of this so far and look forward to many years ahead. Our past 5-year offensive stats. So we have 2015 was our first year here with run the Flexbone offense. We averaged 43.1 points per game, which was 476 yards per game. That's total offense. 377 rushing yards per game, and then around 100 yards passing average. We played for a district championship that year. Unfortunately, lost to Cardinal Ritter in week 12. Then 2016, you kind of see our stats again: 34.5 points per game. Again, averaging around 373 yards rushing. Then 2017, we were at 41 points per game, 381 total per game, and then also 345 rushing. And then 2018, we averaged right around 40 again. That was our team that had the most wins in our school's history. 361 yards per game, 325-yard rush average. And then we started counting our explosive plays. I'm going to get to that here in a second. But we averaged 7 explosive plays per game. And then in 2019, which was last year, a little bit, we had a youth movement or a movement there. But we won't use that as an excuse. We ended up throwing the ball a lot more last year than we did in previous years. But again, 28.4 still average right around that 30 points per game, 302 yards per game, 189 yards rushing, then 113 yards passing, and 6 explosive plays per game. So our offensive philosophy here at Jefferson R-7 is to keep it simple. 6 to 8 run plays, 4 to 6 pass plays. We're not going to do a whole lot from a standpoint of throwing stuff at our kids, but we're going to try to be the best that we can be at those plays. Now, we do run a lot of formations, so we'll try to formation people, but we still stick to those 6 to 8 run plays and 4 to 6 pass plays. And the system has started to take care of itself while we've been at Jefferson. Force the defense to align correctly and match up to the option. That's what any option coach is trying to do. We're trying to put the defense in a disadvantage. I'm a defensive guy. And I teach our defense to always we have to have rules in defending the option. But what we try to do from an offensive standpoint is try to force those defenses to maybe just question themselves just a little bit, just to where they think, hey, am I still a matchup with a quarterback? Or do I try to tinker over here and go to pitch based off the formation and our blocking scheme? So we try to, again, put them in disadvantages whenever we can. We have been blessed with some good athletes here at Jefferson R-7, and we're trying to put those guys in space. And in the option game, whether it be splits with our offensive line, as well as just formations, and then getting those guys out in space and having those athletes out there, it's been a huge advantage for us. Creating explosive plays. So an explosive play for us is, and it kind of goes back to that last slide, is a run of 12 or more yards. And then a explosive pass play for us is a pass of 16 or more yards. And our goal is to try to average around 8 explosive plays per game. And we've come close to that. these past couple of years since we started charting this, and we hope to get right to that this upcoming football season. So how we run the option and anything that we do from a football standpoint, offensively, defensively, or special teams wise, I always tell my coaches we've got to have a cohesive language. All of our coaches and players must utilize the same verbiage. Allows us for easy adjustments during the game. You know, if a young man or one of our players comes up to us and we ask him what technique that they're in, we're going to go over those here in a second. And he says he's head up on me. Well, we expect to say, hey, he's in a 4, he's in a 2, so on and so forth. That's the verbiage that we want to keep the same. We also talk about that from a rules standpoint, the offensive line, the way that they communicate with each other, and the way our coaches communicate with our kids is vital. Teaching physicality, I think that if you're going to run the Flexbone, option, power, trap, counter, jet, whatever it might be, rocket, you've got to be physical whenever you're running it. So our goal is to always be physical right off the bat and send that message to our opponents. We want to be considered that the most physical players play the offensive line. But that being said, our perimeter guys, our receivers and our running backs, we push them blocking. They've got to be a great blocker. And if they don't take pride in blocking for their teammate and their brother, then they won't play very long. We will get it. It doesn't matter who it is. If they give us everything they've got from a blocking standpoint, they'll get the ball eventually, whether or not be right after that great block or before that great block. Tons of reps. We rep it all the time. Option, option, option. And I've actually got a drill in right here on this little board is what we call an A-frame drill that we use all the time here at Jefferson. And basically we do this on the grass. We spray paint this out. But again, you can see that we're repping feet, repping all the stuff that we possibly can. So again, this is a drill that we do that we ended up getting from Ava, which is right outside of near Rolla, and they helped us out quite a bit with that. And then Harding uses that drill as well, and it's just been a huge help for us. But reps are huge. We rep that so much. Our kids understand what the goal is there, and then it's just like doing anything. The more you do something, the better you're going to be at. And whenever you become better and you see results, confidence grows. So that goes in with what we're teaching our kids. So techniques that we teach right here, and again, I apologize right here on my tight end spot. He kind of got moved over a little bit, but you can see on this left side. So we just go good old-fashioned simple. This 0 should be head up on the center right here. A 2 is head up on the guard. 4, head up on the tackle. 6 technique, head up on the tight end. And then for some simplicity reasons for our kids, besides on each side of the center, which we call shades, if they're shaded on one side or the other, we just add an I for the number system for us. So if they're inside the guard, on that shade of that shoulder, we just call it 2I, 4I inside of the tackle, 6I inside the tight end. So then we go on the outside shades, all right? So again, outside shades of that guard, we have a 3 technique, then we have a 5 technique, as well as a 7 technique. So that's the way we teach that those techniques and terminology to our kids. And our goal is to make sure that they're giving us that same terminology and techniques to us the best that they can. Formations. Our base formation is a right formation. It's something that, again, we take a lot of pride on. We do have our A's and Z's right here. You kind of see them right here. This is our A. This is always our Z, our B. Our B's depth, his hand is at 3. All right, so his heels are about 4.5-ish or so. And again, our A and Z are one yard or 1 by 1 from our tackles, and they have a little bit of a staggered stance right there from that spot. Our tight ends, again, it can based on splits on what we run, because if we run the option, we're trying to split people out with our splits and such. But again, that is vital for them to follow at all times. We have our X position right out here. But here's some of our formations that we run. And again, you can tag different things to those formations to try to put teams in a position where it's hard to defend. And we can run all of our option plays out of these formations. Our 3 or 4 option plays that we have, we will run them out of all these formations, and our kids understand what needs to happen and what needs to be done. All right, base option plays right here for us. We are an inside veer, outside veer, midline, and mid-triple team. I'm going to talk about inside veer and midline today. But again, this past season in 2019, inside veer, which we call 12, was 44 attempts. We averaged 6.1 yards per carry, which was about 50% of efficiency. I'm going to go over efficiency here very shortly. Outside veer, 26 attempts, didn't run that as much, but a 6.1 average per carry, 46% efficiency. Mid triple, which is just our triple option out of the midline look, was a 46 attempts for 6.4 yard per average carry, 43% efficiency. And then midline, we ran 29 times for a 3.5 yard average with a 41% efficiency. So I'm going to talk a little bit about inside veer here real quick. So our base rules, we always have rules for our kids in anything that they do, because if something happens or something goes a little bit haywire on us, we always know that we can go back to our rules, and we talk about our rules at all times. So for our base rules for our quarterbacks, as well as our offensive linemen, they understand for inside veer that the dive key is the first man for technique and out. All right. So that is telling us head up on the tackle, which is a 4 technique for us, or outside. All right, is our read key or our dive key in this scenario. All right. Our pitch key is determined by our number blocking. So I have some of our base calls here at the bottom of the screen where it says 8-12, which 12 is inside veer for us. 8 is just telling our kids that, hey, it's going to the right. 34, outside linebacker is the pitch key. And I'm going to go over what that 34 means here in the next slide. Then 8-12, 24, corner is the pitch key. 8-12, 23, safety is the pitch key. So our option number system, what it does is the number system will only apply to our offensive skill players to the call side. This includes the X, A, Z, and T. The first number will always be for the wing. Then it will work inside out. So that's that A or that Z to that call side. It also allows us to modify who we block and adjust who we block on the triple option depending on what defense they're giving us. So it always gives us that in-game adjustment at all times. So this goes back to that number system that we had talked about. I have a 4-2-5. You could consider it probably, we just have the perimeter guys from a defensive standpoint out here, as well as a perimeter standpoint of our offensive players as well. But that 1 right there you see is our end. That is always a 1, okay? In theory, if we were running inside veer right here, he is in what we call a 5 technique, so we know he's the dive read. He is our dive key, all right? The number 2 is always the outside linebacker or that force player, all right? 3 is always the corner. 4 is always the safety. And then 5 is always the play side or near side linebacker, all right? So if we called 34 on that play before, I went over on the slide before, so that's telling that Z right there that he's going to block. In theory, he's going to block the corner, all right? Okay, and I'm going to get the nuts and bolts of the offensive line here shortly. But he's going to block that corner. Then that X knows he is always going to block that safety. Wherever that safety goes, he goes. So it's his goal to change that up, to follow his rules and trust his rules. We can also go 23, all right? So if we went 23, that Z on this left side of the 4-2-5 or 3-4 system is going to block the rover, all right? Okay, and then the corner is going to the X is going to stalk block the cornerback. So again, these are 2 scenarios, and this gives us those changes. We can go 25. If we want to go big or heavy, we bring that tight end over there to that side. We can also go what we call 2-5-3, where the Z is going to block the outside linebacker. Tight end now knows he has the second number. He's going to block inside linebacker or near side linebacker, and that corner is going to block the X is going to block that corner. And then we know that the pitch key is now the safety because number 1, the 4 and out, the dive key is that end. So again, these are just different looks that it'll give you from the perimeter blocking system. We were able to get this from Hutch, Kansas out there. We went out there and listened to them, and they helped us out tremendously from this standpoint. All right, so our offensive line rules. So we've already identified who the dive key is. We did that a couple slides ago. So we've identified who that dive key is. Our rules are this. Just gap on backer. So, and I'm going to get into that here in the next slide, but our guard, tackle, whoever that is, if they have a gap, a play side gap threat, their job is to block them. All right. Okay. If there is no play side gap and there's a threat in their backside gap, they will double on the D lineman. All right. With that corresponding offensive lineman who has a play side gap threat. Then what we will do on inside veer is we're going to try to overtake with that near side guard, say guard and tackle working together. We're trying to overtake with that guard because he's trying to overtake that play side gap. And then that tackle is then going to work after he knows that double team or that guard's overtaking to backer, head up to inside. All right. So that'd be that 5 on that slide we talked about earlier. All right. So again, it allows us to get movement and push on that first level. That double team, all right, if it occurs, which it should occur on inside veer for us, is the first and most important thing for our offensive linemen to that side, that play side. All right. And again, if that double team's is not taken care of, they stay on the double team. Because if they're taking care of the double team or they're all in on the double team, it's going to force traffic or trash, we should say, on that near side linebacker. All right. Okay. But if we feel comfortable, that tackle feels comfortable that guard, that play side guard is taking over, he is now going to post up on that near side linebacker. All right. Exception for this is for the tight end who will have a number. His best release is to block his number that's given to him. So like I told you guys earlier on that previous slide, literally if he has a 5 call, he's going to block that play side linebacker. All right. That near side linebacker. If he has a 3, he's blocking corner. He knows his number system. It can change at any time. All right. That's the beauty of our perimeter run game, our perimeter blocking game. So you can see this right here in this diagram. I'm not going to use this cursor too much because it seems like it's sliding me back and forth from slides. But again, you can see, so we have a tight end. This is our base right formation. Okay. We have what is called 8-12. So we know it's inside veer to the right. All right. 35. Okay. So I'm going to start out and go inside out here. All right. So we're going to start play side or to the center here. The center knows. Okay. So again, if we're following our rules, gap on back, his play side gap is not threatened. All right. His play side gap's not threatened. So now what he's going to do, okay, because this backside guard knows his play side gap is threatened. So he's working through that nose. He's now going to post help with the nose, the shade technique, what we call. All right. Okay. So he's going to work on that double team until he feels that guard can overtake. And now that center is going to work up to onside linebacker. For him, that is the backside linebacker. All right. Okay. So that, and then our play side guard right here, now he's thinking gap. Is there a threat to my play side gap? We know it's 8-12. It's going to the right. So our play side gap is threatened. All right. That is what we call B gap for us. All right. This goes A, then B, then C, then D. All right. Okay. So now he knows he has a play side gap threat. So he's going to try to he will block that tackle or that 3 technique right there. Because again, in our rules, we know we've identified the read is this 6 technique right here because it is a 4 and out. So this play side tackle to this side, he's got to think, is my gap threatened? All right. Gap on back. All right. Okay. So his gap is not threatened. All right. So now is anybody on him? Well, not really. So he's going to work back to that 3 technique on the outside shoulder of that guard. With that guard overtaking, it's again a double team. We're working double. That's the first and foremost threat. So we've got to make sure we take care of that double team to that side. So again, he's working that double team until he feels comfortable that guard's going to overtake. And now what he's going to do is he's going to come off and he's going to work to onside backer right here. All right. So our tight end already knows because we have a 35 called. So again, our first number's for the Z. He's our wing. All right. He has a 35 block right here, which is the corner, or I'm sorry, a 3 block, which is the corner, because this goes 1, 2, 3, and then safety's 4, and the play side linebacker is 5. All right. Okay. So he knows he has a 3 block, and then that tight end to that side has a 5 block. All right. Which is the play side or near side linebacker for him. So in theory, okay, this B, and we're going to go on this in a second, is taking his good inside veer path. This quarterback, which we're going to go over in a second, working good feet, and we're forming a wall. That's what we're doing. We call it the inside veer wall, and we're veering. And that end is our dive key. Then that outside linebacker or rover, what we call on our 4-2-5 system, is the force player, or is the pitch key. All right. Then our backside tackle right here, he's going to do what we call gap downfield. He's just protecting that play side gap, making sure no issues are there whatsoever. And then what he will do right here is he will work to backside backer on through the touchdown alley. If he's taken care of already, he's working on a touchdown alley, or what we call it, score a touchdown or hit anybody in his way with the running back. All right, skill player rules on inside veer. So, again, we talked about our offensive line, just broke down their system. So, quarterbacks, great footwork. And this goes back to that A-frame drill that we talked about. We've kind of tinkered with ride read as well as a point mesh. We've kind of blended a little bit in between both those just because it's an easier read for a quarterback and it's a faster read for a quarterback. So, footwork to the mesh point, read dive key, then pitch off number 2. If the dive key hesitates, gets upfield, works outside, then it's a give all day long. All right. If dive key squeezes, then it's a pull, attacking inside shoulder of the pitch key. When in doubt, we tell our kids, our quarterbacks, if you have any doubt in your mind, you give the football to the fullback at all times. Okay. We much rather try to get 2 or 3 or 4 yards, and we've had those instances where they've ended up being a 50-yard touchdown. But again, when in doubt, give it, because normally if we're in doubt, we don't give it. Something bad usually happens, unfortunately. But if they're in doubt and they don't give it, we teach our quarterback just to follow the fullback. Follow the fullback, get as many yards as you can. So our fullback, okay, again, hands at about 3, heels are about 4.5. Fullback's job is to run to the inside cheek of the guard. If you don't get the ball, keep working for someone to block. He's got to sell that fake. He's got to sell it, plain and simple. He's got to sell that, all right? Backside A or Z is what we call a pre-snap orbit motion. Get and stay in pitch relationship, all right? Okay, so we teach those guys, they're getting depth, all right? Okay, but if that quarterback and they're wanting to stay about a half man, no more than about 2.5, 3 yards away from that quarterback. A half man behind and no more than 2.5 or 3 yards behind or away from that quarterback to where they can stay in good pitch relationship. We don't want to get too close. We don't want to get too far away. Play side skill players are going to block their number, which we talked about earlier, work for midline or seal inside. So we're just talking about cutting that body right down the middle. We're working through that midline or trying to seal the inside. Then backside skill players, not in the option scheme, are going to work to cut off backside pursuit. So they're working gap downfield like we talked about that backside tackle, and they're working all the way up through the field, and they're going to try, if they don't see anybody, they're scoring a touchdown with that running back or quarterback, or whoever has it. So you can see right here, we added in the perimeter blocking scheme that I kind of went over a little bit earlier. It shows you that 3 block by the Z, the play side B or Z, shows the path of the B, which is inside butt cheek of that play side guard. And again, this is 8-12 for us, so it's inside veer to the right, 35. And then it shows that 5 block by the tight end to the play side. And then that A, all right, is going to be our orbit motion player right here. And he's staying, again, a half man behind the quarterback. One key thing to this that I didn't mention on the quarterbacks, I'm going to go back real quick to that slide before. We teach footwork with our quarterback is the clock method. All right, so for inside veer, we teach that first, and this is something we work on that A-frame that I showed earlier all the time, because on that A-frame, we always have a read, we always have a pitch read, we always have a dive read. All right, we're forced them to make decisions, and we'll see where their eyes are at. We have a 2-ball drill we work, all that stuff. But again, his first step's going to be about 4-ish o'clock, all right, on the clock, all right, on 8-12, and then that next foot is at the read, all right? That next step is at the read, okay? Eyes are on the read at all times, all right, okay? Until if he reads that, hey, it's a keep, okay, because that end or whoever that read key is taking dive, his eyes now go to pitch, and he's attacking that inside shoulder pitch, forcing that pitch player to make a decision. If that pitch player comes in, we should be a half man behind with our A or our Z off that orbit motion, and we're pitching the ball, and we're scoring a touchdown. All right, so next that I have is what we call midline. And you can see through this picture, you know, our quarterback's getting that football out. It looks a little bit like, and this young man's a sophomore. Actually, about 3 of these guys you see are sophomores this past year. We're young, but they got better as the year went on, which is awesome. But his eyes got better and better as the year went on. And this was week 2, I believe, week 3. But again, you can see our B right there and the path that they're taking. So we're going to go over some midline here. So our base rules for midline now is that our dive key is the first man, a 2 technique are out. All right. So we know that a 0 is head up on the center. That 2 technique now is head up on the guard. So we're talking 2 technique or out. All right, with that, it could be a 3, it could be a 4. If it is a 5, which in theory it has been before against us in some odd fronts, I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of that, but it puts us in a good position to give the ball. There is no pitch key or number tag because it is just a double option for us. I'm going to go over mid-veer here shortly after I go over midline. So O-line rules goes right back to what we were talking about with our inside veer. Identify the dive key. So we know that as a 2 and out, we've got to identify, and they communicate with each other. They know, because again, we rep. All right. Play side guards going to rip underneath and climb from first linebacker, head up to inside. We're going to go over this here the next slide. Play side tackle and tight end will fan out to the end man on the line of scrimmage outside of that read key and then outside linebacker. And again, it goes back down to our rules there. Gap on backer for center and backside offensive line. Block play side gap. Double on D lineman. Double if again your play side gap's not threatened. All right, okay. And then if your backside gap's not threatened, you're climbing a backer, head up to inside. So again, this is just our upfront scheme right here. So again, we know this right here, and again, I'm going to try to work this curse the best I can because it flips me back and forth here. But we know that tackle, all right, okay, because we have 8-10 called, and it's just again a base formation here. That tackle is in a 3 technique. Okay, so he's a 2 and out. He's the first threat, 2 and out. All right, so we know that 3 technique is our dive key. All right, okay, so we're going to start from the center. All right, okay, center. Okay, go right. I'll tell you what, we'll start with our left tackle backside and work to the play side. So this backside tackle right here, all right, okay, he's just working gap on downfield. Again, if the gap is threatened, he's taking that threat. That is his threat, all right? Okay, if there's not, he's just working gap on back down or on down through the near side linebacker through the safety, all right? Okay, he'll get to that near side linebacker pretty fast if he has good footwork and gets off the ball like he should. So the backside guard, he's thinking, again, it's 8-10. So is my play side gap threatened? Absolutely. All right, absolutely right here by this shade technique. So his goal he is blocking that nose. Now he's got to see, or that shade technique, he's got to see, okay, is the center. And they're going to talk to each other on this. Deuce call, which is double team, so on and so forth. All right. So the center knows, hey, play side gap is not threatened right here. I have no threat. So now I'm going to look on. Yeah, he's kind of on me here. So what I can do, he's going to work with that backside guard. They're going to work on a double team. And again, that double team is the first and most important threat. If they feel at any time that guy's going to slip off, they stay with the double team. Because like I said, if they stay with it and they do eventually get pushed, it's forcing trash on this backside linebacker. He's more than likely going to scrape and fill. All right. Okay. And with his optional responsibilities. So again, working backside gap, A gap is threatened. All right. Okay. Because he's on. He's going to work that double team with the backside guard. Then that center's job, or that guard's job, is to overtake that nose. And then that center works up to backside linebacker. All right. Okay. Our play side guard right here, he is going to rip. He's what we call a ripper right here. And if he's in a 3 technique, it's a lot easier than if he's a 2. He's got to have great feet right off the ball. We like our guards to be able to move. They've got to move. Actually, if you're running option football, all of your linemen have got to move well. So he's going to rip, and he's just looking on because, again, that play side gap is threatened, but he knows this is a 2 and out. This is a 2 and out, so he is the dive key. So he knows that, hey, I'm looking on. Is there anybody on? Nope. All right, so now I'm looking up to backer, all right, our near side backer. And by fan call right here for our tackle, that's just telling him he's fanning the end man on the line of scrimmage right here, okay? All right, he's fanning the end man on the line of scrimmage, which we consider right now the end or a 6 technique. And then this tight end is going to fan the outside linebacker, all right? And again, their job is to have great feet, work that midline through the center, all right? Midline through the center, okay? That's our offensive line. We're going over our skill positions here next. All right, so skill player rules. QB, great footwork. Again, we talked about the clock method. So they're going to be at about 6 o'clock. All right, his job, and maybe a little bit out, almost towards 6:30, if you know what I'm saying. Or I'm sorry, 6:30. Okay, towards that 7. But again, His job is to get out of the way of that fullback because that fullback is taught, that B, what we call B, you hit that thing hard, all right? He's going right up the butt crack of that center. I'm going to go in here in a second, all right? But, again, his job, eyes are on the key, great footwork, okay? That second step after the first step of that quarterback is, again, get out of the way of that fullback, and, again, it's right at about 12, all right? And it might be a little bit outside of that. But, again, that fullback's going to hit hard. Again, play side center, cheek of the center. We almost say right up the ass crack to the play side cheek of the center. If you don't get the ball, keep working for someone to block, just like what we teach them on Inside Beer. Backside A or Z, pre-snap orbit motion. They become what we call shocker back. So what they're going to do is they're going to ISO block downhill for the inside linebacker or play side linebacker to the safety. So their depth that they're getting is like a normal orbit, but whenever they hear that snap, okay, and they're almost maybe a little bit, almost looks like almost what we call Zulu outside, almost like an offset bone spot. He's working downhill. He's planting that foot, getting right downhill. He's going right to that inside linebacker immediately. So we end up, in theory, having almost a double team on that play side inside linebacker. Play side A or Z is going to fold inside the tackles, fan blocks. We talked about that tackle, fan block, and the end man on the line of scrimmage. And he's also going to seal that inside or play side inside linebacker. So in theory, we almost have a triple team on that near side or play side linebacker. Backside skill players, not in the opposite scheme, is going to be work on the cutoff backside pursuit. And again, this shows you basically just the scheme of what we're doing. And it's kind of one of those things that we're from a perimeter or from our skill standpoint. And again, you see what we talked about up front with the offensive lineman. Now we're just adding in the footwork of the quarterback and so on and so forth. So that B, again, he's hitting this thing hard. He is hitting it hard. We teach our Bs, and a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't work on taking dive greatly. We work on jam and squeezing all the time with our defensive line, and we try to be as technically sound as we possibly can with our defensive linemen and matching up. It's one of those deals that we've got to make sure that we're hitting that thing hard. Quarterbacks working that clock with their feet, eyes on the read. Again, if he takes dive, quarterback is now taught to go right outside the read key. All right, okay, right outside. So he's staying tight, almost right off his hip, maybe a little bit wider, but not too much. And he's going to work on getting upfield. So this backside A, okay, he knows he's going to orbit. Now he hears our snap count hit on one or whatever it is. He's downhill, and he's working basically linebacker through safety, all right? Play side Z right here. He's working right off the rear end of this tackle who's fanning out to the end, working right off that rear end and working right there to near side linebacker. So in theory, we should have almost a triple team on this near side linebacker, all right? Okay, and we can load this thing too if this end's giving us issues on 10. We'd rather not, but we can. All right, and again, we want to put this guy's in a bind, and that's our goal. All right, so that was midline. Next up, we have some mid-triple option, and that'll be the end of our presentation. But again, mid-triple, very similar to midline. All right, changed a couple little things up front blocking-wise, but it's just triple option out of that midline look. All right, so base rules, same thing as midline. Reading that 2 technique and out. Pitch key is the next man out. So, again, we now have that pitch key. So, again, what we've got to do now is understand, hey, we're going to hear a 35 call. We're going to hear a 43 or whatever it might be. We're going to hear that perimeter blocking scheme out. We read the first 2 defenders, 2 and out. All right, okay? We read the first 2 defenders on mid-triple, 2 and out. All right, outside of that perimeter blocking scheme. All right, so offensive line rules, again, they're identifying that dive key, 2 and out, and pitch key, which they may both be on the line of scrimmage. You may end up having a 3 technique like we showed earlier and a 6 technique. So it's going to be a fast pull and potentially pitch. And we work that stuff on that A-frame that I showed you earlier. And again, if you have any questions on that A-frame or any of this, I'd love to help you guys out with whatever I can. Play side guard and play side tackle are going to rip underneath and climb to the first linebacker head up to inside. Again, goes back to those rules of gap on backer for center and then backside offensive line. Those same rules that we talked about with midline goes the same way with this mid-veer, exception for tight end who will have a number because our perimeter run scheme. All right, so you see right here, if you go back to 10, blocking scheme from really play side guard over to backside tackle is the same. All right. Okay. You follow those rules. Okay. Follow those rules that we talked about. Now, the difference is this, because we talk about potentially having to dive key / pitch key on the line of scrimmage. That's what we're getting out of this. Again, this is just off of 4-2-5 or 4-4. Some people call it 4-4, 4-2-5. Again, draw up different defenses because it forces you to be a better coach. Go against an odd front, go against an even front, switch it up. We see junk defenses a lot too, so it forces us to really trust our rules. So now with this play side guard, he's a ripper. Instead of fanning out to the end, because we now know this is our pitch key, this play side tackle is going to rip and work right through the near side linebacker. Okay, all right. And then this tight end, which we call our T is our tight end. He's going to arc release, and he's working to, again, almost seal or take that forced defender where he may go. If he goes all the way out here, we teach him, hey, take him out there. But we're trying to seal just from a pitch standpoint so that our pitch can get out there and be one-on-one with the corner. All right. Okay. So again, I'm going to go over the 32 here shortly, but again, that's just our base up front. So very similar to the midline, just changes some things up with that play side tackle and tight end. All right. So again, I know it's a common thing, but quarterbacks, great footwork. All right. Okay. Great footwork. Okay. Fullback running, same as 10. Play side cheek of the center. If you don't get the ball, keep working for someone to block. Backside A or Z, pre-snap orbit motion. Get and stay in pitch relationship, just like 12 for him. Play side skill players are going to block your number. They're going to work for the midline or seal inside. Then backside skill players, not an option scheme, are going to work to cut off backside with pursuit. So again, now we're bringing that 32 into this. Okay. All right. So what we got is 8-11. We know that it's mid. Okay. Mid veer, what we call mid veer. 11 for us is mid veer. 10 is midline. And then 12 is inside veer. All right. And then 14 for us is outside veer. Okay. So we know what we're doing up front. We just talked about that. Now we're going to work our feet with our quarterback. Same as midline. He's working the same footwork. Now, what our A is going to do is now he's going to take his orbit path. Instead of being that shocker back in 10, he's now going to stay in pitch relationship with the quarterback, about a half man behind. All right. Okay. No more than about 2.5, 3 yards. Okay. And that quarterback is, and again, we kind of haven't cut it up here fast because we're saying, hey, he's going to take pitch or whatever. All right. Okay. But again, this quarterback's, if he doesn't, he's pitching outside and it's right here. He could take, again, this could be our dive. This can be our quarterback player and then pitch. We have 32 called. So we know Z inside out, first numbers for this Z or wing. He has a 3 block. He's going to take a great path outside release. Work on that outside shoulder, that corner to try to seal him. And this play side tight end is going to arc release or outside release. Work on that outside shoulder, that rover. Now you have this A, if we pitch the ball, basically the extra defender is the sideline, and then you have the safety, who in theory should be an inside-out pitch player, but he's got to cover a lot of ground and go through a lot of traffic to try to stop that or prevent that A from scoring a touchdown. All right, so that is my presentation. Again, I appreciate everything that you have done for us, Coach Bandstra. Again, if you have anything that anyone wants to ask, by all means, please ask, and I am here for all your help. I have my email is Rouggly a@jr7.k12.mo.us. Exit out there. And then you can email me, or you can do whatever you need to do. So I'm here for you guys, help out in any way that I can. So again, Coach Bandstra, thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. And wish everybody the best of luck out there this fall, and stay safe and stay healthy.